All right, welcome back. In our journey through database history, we're landing on a really key moment, the release of PostgreSQL 14. Now, this wasn't some flashy release that was shouting from the rooftops with one big new feature. No, it was something quieter, but way more profound. It was all about refining a technology that was already, frankly, taking over the world. So let's dig in and see what made it so important.
To really get why version 14 was such a big deal, you gotta understand the big picture. By 2021, Postgres wasn't some niche open source project anymore. Come on, it was the beating heart of countless applications, from tiny startups to massive global companies. It had become the absolute foundation that so much of our modern software was being built on.
But, with that kind of incredible success comes some pretty incredible challenges, right? When your database is running basically everything, the demands on it are just immense. The workloads were getting bigger, way more complex, and absolutely mission-critical. So the question for the Postgres community was pretty clear. What's next? What do the people who rely on this tech every single day actually need?
And the answer, really, it all came down to three things. First up, observability, which is a fancy way of saying you need to be able to actually see what the heck is going on inside the database. Second, efficiency, making the system do more with less. Less storage, less CPU, less headache. And finally, control, giving developers and admins that fine-grained power they need to manage their data and their workflows.
Okay, first, let's talk about performance under pressure. Postgres was already known for being an absolute rock. But with these massive workloads, the question was, how could you make it even leaner, even faster?
And man, PostgreSQL 14 delivered some awesome improvements here. We saw way better use of multi-core processors with parallel queries. We got much faster vacuuming, which is Postgres' essential cleanup process, and that was a huge deal for tables with tons of updates. And we got this fascinating new feature called B-tree deduplication. Let's zoom in on that one.
All right, so what on earth is B-tree deduplication? Okay, picture the index in the back of a textbook. If the word database shows up 500 times, the index doesn't list the word 500 times, right? It lists the word once and then all the page numbers. B-tree deduplication does basically the same thing for database indexes. It finds duplicate values that would normally be stored over and over and over again, and it stores them just once. The bottom line, your indexes get smaller and a whole lot more efficient.
And this chart, it just perfectly shows you the real-world payoff. Now, what's so cool here is the double benefit you get. On the left, you can see that the actual storage size of the index drops a lot. That's great, saves you disk space. But here's the kicker. Look at the bar on the right. The write overhead also goes down. Because the database is writing less data to the index every time, performance actually gets better. It's a total win-win.
Next up, let's talk about the developers. Because look, a database isn't just about raw speed, right? It's about empowering the people who are actually building stuff with it. And version 14 was a masterclass in this delicate balance between pure power and simplicity.
So what did that look like in the real world? Well, it meant more flexibility, like being able to write stored procedures in languages you already know and love. It meant brand new data types, like non-contiguous ranges, perfect for complex scheduling stuff, like booking a conference room from 9 to 10 a.m. and then again from 2 to 4 p.m., all in a single entry. And it meant huge improvements to querying JSON, which was a big nod to the fact that, hey, not all data is neat and tidy in rows and columns anymore. The world's messy.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. This wasn't about adding complicated features just for the sake of it. Every one of these was a direct answer to what developers were asking for. Powerful tools that were also intuitive and just made sense. It was about removing friction so they could get back to building cool things.
Okay, so this brings us to our third big theme, observability. If performance is the engine of your car, observability is the entire dashboard. For a long time, databases could feel like a total black box. You'd put data in, you'd run a query, and you'd just cross your fingers and hope for the best. PostgreSQL 14 basically said, nope, we're done with that, and made visibility a core first-class feature.
And the way they did it was by handing admins a brand new toolkit. The statistics the database was collecting to plan queries got a whole lot smarter. They added new system views that let you literally peek inside a process like data replication and see exactly what it was doing in real time. And all the new logging options meant that when things inevitably went sideways, figuring out the problem became much, much faster.
And that was the whole point. The goal wasn't just to make the database faster, it was to make it understandable, knowable. It was about making the whole system so transparent that you could trust it. Not just because it worked, but because for the first time, you could really see how it worked.
All right, let's tie all of this together. Why did this specific version, PostgreSQL 14, matter so much in the grand scheme of things? The key, and you have to get this, is its philosophy. This was a release all about refinement, not revolution.
Look, PostgreSQL didn't need to reinvent the wheel in 2021. The wheel was already working incredibly well. What it needed was some fine-tuning. It needed to be stronger, lighter, and have way better diagnostics. And version 14 was the perfect embodiment of that idea, a mature, thoughtful evolution of an already world-class technology. At the end of the day, this release was for the people on the front lines, the DBAs, the site reliability engineers, the application developers, the folks who live and breathe this stuff every single day. Every single feature we've talked about was designed to make their jobs just a little bit easier, and to make the critical systems they manage that much more robust.
I think this quote just perfectly captures the spirit of Postgres 14. The performance boost gave everyone more power, for sure, the power to handle these insane workloads. But the observability features, that transparency, that gave them wisdom, the wisdom to actually manage all that power effectively.
So, with this incredible foundation laid by version 14, a database that was faster, more transparent, and way more friendly to developers, the stage was set for the next huge leap. So what came next? Well, the answer involves PostgreSQL 16, the rise of vector search, and the dawn of the AI era. But that's a story for our next time. Thanks for joining me.